like a dutiful interviewer, I've been watching lots of Yorgos being interviewed and listening to it, and he sometimes, especially when asked to explain his work, gives the impression of being a bear trapped in in an animal trap trying to chew his own arm off. So I'm going to try and make it as easy for you as possible.
Thank you.
If there's a question you feel you're going to go down an avenue that I imagine people here are fans of your work largely. If there's something you feel like you said 100 times before or is boring, you're allowed to pass.
Okay.
If you pass, I've got...
Good rules.
I've got some questions from some of your collaborators, and so we can go to a B question.
You really worked on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't want to answer a B question, we're in big trouble.
There's a lot of big questions. Okay.
So first question is, how are you doing?
I'm good. I mean, you know, relatively speaking, with what's going on in the world, good. Yeah. Adrenaline. I just went through the protest, and there was like a kerfuffle, and people are alive, and finally, yeah, I feel, yeah, alive.
Good. The film, I went to a gala screening here last night. It went down brilliantly. It's a brilliant new film. How is this period of promoting a film for you? How do you find that?
Bear trap. Well, I mean, it's funny, but I think most people understand that, like, you know, when you make, you know, a decision to do something in your life, which is like, I want to make films, you know, or I want to make music. It's the way you choose to express yourselves and, you know, explore things and discover things. So it is very difficult to try and then, on top of that, you know, explain the work and, you know, what you're intending or what you mean, and also it takes away some of the fun because, you know, I try and make the things open enough so people are able themselves to like engage with their own. I mean, people are so different. They come from different cultural backgrounds, experiences. You know, even the mood that they're in, the moment that they're watching something might change the way they perceive it. So for me to go, no, that's not what I meant. This is what I meant, and you're wrong. I mean, there's no point in making this thing and then sharing it with the world. So, you know, that's the kind of tricky situation you're in. So it's not like it's, you know, fuck off, I don't want to explain my thing. It's like, it's not fun. I can't do it really well. I'm probably wrong about many of the things. And you can tell better. Like, you might have a better idea of what I unconsciously chose to do. So why spoil that? That's the...
Yeah. I mean, it's different with a wonderful audience of very, very smart BFI people, right?
Yes.
But those other Q&As...
They basically have no questions. They're just here to see, you know.
If you could reorder the world like one of the mad autocrats in your films, what would be your ideal level of beyond the film in the world? How much would the director or the filmmaker have to do?
Well, I quite like what Zizek says lately, which is like, the way things are going, you need a dictator, like the ones that, you know, are doing the bad things, but a dictator that does their good things for the people. Because it seems like, you know, the good people, or, you know, whatever you call maybe the left or whatever, how you want to call it, you know, they haven't found a way to do this. So you need someone who will, you know, take responsibility and go, we're going to do the good things. And you need some kind of, you know, authority to do that. So that would be something interesting to see, you know, instead of like the other way around as it's happening right now.
Should we do a first clip and we can start to get specific instead of general?
Yes.
Yes? First clip.
Which
please.
Is very related to what we just said.
2009 it came out?
Yeah.
You were shooting it, I guess, a bit before that?
Yeah, 2008, I guess.
It's a long time ago, but not so long. Can you remember, you've come a long way in the world as a filmmaker, can you remember that day now, shooting those scenes?
I do remember that. Like, I have a terrible memory, but like this scene, for example, I do remember shooting it. I can still see the, the clippers that he's holding. They're out of rubber, so I can see them going like a little bit like there's a weird.
It looks like a nervous tremble.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, I guess most people can't tell, but like, that's what I see. I go like, these fucking rubber things that go like this. Like, what can you do? I mean, nowadays we would probably fix it in post. Like you'd stabilize them and they would look rigid. But like, it's kind of funny and yeah.
It's good. I was going to say I'd never noticed before, but I thought that was a quiver of his anxiety.
And the other thing which was interesting about this, that's probably what I remember. We realized that the cat didn't move while he was approaching like that because she was blind. So we didn't know the cat was blind. And, we just got this, him approaching the cat like in one take. So we were like, that cat is amazing. Like, it wasn't good at all. And then, like, she went and bumped into a wall or something and go like, oh, okay, she's blind.
I trusted arrived blind. I don't want to hear anything else. Yeah, you were quite interested, right, in these mad worlds, these worlds created by human beings, closed compounds. You get it in Dogtooth and the Lobster, or a mental space like a royal court. Is that a prison or a trap? Can you feel your creative instincts quickening when you see, oh, this is one of those, or is it one of those many things which is instinctive about what the work you want to do?
Yeah, I think it's mostly instinctive. I don't, intellectualize what I'm interested in initially, and I guess like looking back at it, it's easy to say that it's these microcosms, are an interesting way of exploring bigger ideas, and you can apply it the same way that a scientist does an experiment in a smaller scale and setting. You can assume certain things about the bigger picture, and then you do a greater experiment, and then you're a little bit more certain, things like that. So I think it serves that purpose in many ways, but also because you can control the rules of the world more easily. I think it allows you to shine a light on things that you're interested in. They get enhanced when you go like, I'm going to make my own rules and see how how far it can go. If this situation was extreme, which you don't see every day necessarily. I mean, nowadays you do, but I mean, I guess it always happened. But like, just observe something which is enhanced and drawn to a certain kind of extreme, and figure out what happens in that system. May it be a family or a society or another group of people or a royal court, as you say, by tweaking the rules and see, discover things about human nature, and then, as we said before, like you give it over to the audience, and then they, can think things about that and, have their own opinions and discussions amongst each other, and that's the fun part of it. Like that the films will stay in your mind, at least for a little bit, and then you can have debates and ideas, or hate them or love them, or want to see them again, whatever that is.
And it's lovely that you keep the work open, right, for the audience. But can you wrote this with your frequent screenwriting collaborator Efthimis Filippou, who I think
is here.
Is here.
Not in the friends section. In the collaborator section.
And you co-wrote
Yeah.
Dogtooth with him. What can you remember? That's very generous and open about what we take from it. What can you remember any of the stuff? I'd call it a writing room. I don't know what space you were inhabiting when you came up
Our
with
writing
the film.
room was an old-fashioned restaurant in Athens. I mean, we used to work in advertising. That's how we met each other, and that's how we started. And we would have lunch every day at that place, and discuss about making a film. And Efthimis hadn't written a film before, and just came to him with the idea.
The what would you say was the idea?
The idea was like, this family that, lives protected from the rest of the world. They don't know the rest of the world exists. That's their own world. And what happens within that. And actually, we didn't even know, like, we didn't do it in a traditional way, I guess, that first time. Like, we were like, okay, this is the idea, and let's do an outline of what the film is, and then start writing. I think, I gave that to Efthimis, and then he started writing scenes, like just whatever. And then, we had a few pages, and then we would discuss them and comment on them and find a direction, and then write more scenes and more scenes, until it became a whole script. And we never went through the process, which we actually started doing from then on, which was like, okay, this is the idea, let's do an outline. We'd do our little Post-its on the wall with the scenes and, look at them and change them around. And but yeah, the first one that we did was like very instinctive, very like experimenting with if the idea works, are those scenes interesting, and, just come up with more stuff and figure out the rules by writing the scenes. So we need a scene that explains this and a scene that explains that in that world. And, I remember thinking like, oh, they can see airplanes from from their garden. What if, they threw fake airplanes, in the garden, and they told them that's an airplane that fell in the garden, and there were toys. And we're just trying to find, in a logical way, like what would those parents be, how would those parents explaining anything that came from the outside world? So, which is the same situation with the cat. They were, they were being told that it's like this monster that ate their brother or whatever, and so that's why they're so afraid of it. And yeah.
And you mentioned briefly we work in commercials. Was there tension there for you? You're obviously an independent spirit in the films you make. Commercials, you're selling stuff. Was there a tension? Were you just happy to be learning?
Huge tension.
Yeah.
I mean, because I also started by
This started as a cat food commercial, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then we went off. No, but because I was, we're doing commercials, and we hadn't made a film, while I was doing commercials, and I started really young. I was fortunate enough to start really young, and, I learned a lot of technical stuff, and I shot a lot of film, and, we became very confident technically. But, while I was making the commercials, the fights I'd have with clients and creatives, like how it should be, and it wasn't like interesting enough, and they wanted to be like all about the product, and I said like, that's not interesting, nobody cares about that. And I was fighting like it was like my, my own personal, creation and struggle. And but I guess I was kind of good at it, so they kept hiring me, and maybe they appreciated the tension as well. Like they said that maybe they thought like, this guy might be on to something, maybe we should listen or something, I don't know. But yeah, so it was, there was a lot of tension. I learned a lot of things. I'm very grateful. And basically the three films that I made in Greece, Kineta, Dogtooth, and Alps, we basically paid for it, the little stuff that we paid, because all of them were done with the help of friends that, worked with no fees. And some of the production companies that we were working with would, lend us some equipment or give us like 10,000 euros and things like that. I had, I was making enough money to not work for a while and pay for the film or whatever. So it was done, this way. So I have, commercials to thank for that, and the technical knowledge that I acquired that allowed us to make the films without needing a lot of equipment, lighting, makeup. We knew that we could live without all that. And basically we also kind of had an allergic reaction to that, because like commercials, like, oh, it needs to be lit well, it needs to be bright, the makeup and this and the hair is sticking out, and I just wanted to get away from all of that. And so it was easy to work with, few means in a certain way. But then, after we made the third film, Alps, and, Dogtooth had already become, a bit, known around the world, and
Quite celebrated.
yeah, awards and stuff, and American actors or English actors were interested in my work, and wanted to meet me and all that. So that's when I decided to move here, actually, and start making English language films, because, after the third film, like begging people, for the essential stuff, and, feeling kind of, indebted to people just because you want to make films and all that. Just also, and creatively speaking, it was fine for three films to not have a choice of, what color your sweater is, and what kind of car he's driving, or what house we're shooting in, because all had to come from friends and for free, and so you didn't have any actual control over a lot of things, which was liberating for a while, and then it just started becoming a hindrance. Like at some point, I wanted to be able to make those choices, hence the move to English language films in England, and yeah.
Good. We're not getting many passes, and some of these questions are good from the collaborators. Maybe the questions will get worse, but let's hit one, and then we'll do a clip.
Yeah.
Olivia Colman.
What did she say?
Who's your favourite actress?
She is. Listen, the film almost fell apart. I said she was busy, and I went like, we're not doing the film without Olivia, and we had to wait for like a year. I think she was doing Broadchurch, and we had to wait a year, and it almost fell apart. Like people were like, "What are you doing? Like this is gonna," and we waited. I mean, she's amazing. Like she's
You said
you know her.
Good. Should we hit the next clip, please? I mean, it's great, right? It strikes me when I was preparing the films. It's pretty radically different on subsequent viewings, I would say. I think it stays chilling, but I think it becomes more funny somehow, or becomes funny in a certain, not entirely straightforward way. I was curious if this is something you're able to think about, or it's outside of the realm of things you can think about in the edit. So typically, as we know, in the edit, you'll have seen this material many times, and so it becomes a bit decontextualized to you. Which do you want to talk about that, or my question was going to be...
Is that what Olivia asked?
No, she just wanted, who's your favourite actress? I guess, do you consider the audiences who's only going to be seeing it for the first time's reaction, do you try to factor that in, or are you happy with the sort of slight remove that's going to naturally happen between you and the material as you watch it again and again? It's fun. I think that's potentially funny the second and third time you see that clip. The first time, it's probably hard to laugh.
Yeah. Well, I laughed for the first time.
And there we have him, ladies and gentlemen.
No, because I think it's all about, tone and how you do it. And, for example, I mean, this is an interesting clip that you chose, because that was like, our problem with Efthimis writing this script was like, we have to set down, the rules for people to understand. So in that case, I did think about like how are people going to understand, what is going on and what the rules are, and we basically couldn't find any other way other than just him saying it. And then we went like, yeah, but that's going to be boring and expositional, and how are we going to do that? And then we went like, what if he says it really fast? And then, and then it becomes, funny and more interesting. And then, then there's Barry that, makes it
Amazing.
even more interesting and funnier. And it changes, like there was an intention from our side. And then, you discover Barry, who at that point had made like one or two films, and he's not, trained as an actor, and he was, a revelation. And so, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that happen, as you say, like from the screenplay, you imagine certain things. But a lot of the times I don't think about, how people are going to receive it. I think mostly about myself. And it's not that, again, it's like I don't give a fuck about anyone else. It's just that in order to give them something, truthful and, as original as it can be, something that's coming from me, I need to work, from within myself and, strike the tone and the balance that I understand, would work. And hopefully then, people take it. And as we said before, they do whatever they want with it. You can only control it to a certain extent. And then, as you say, like maybe you watch it and you watch it again and it changes because the balance in tone is so fine. And it's, maybe, if you watch this clip, separately, it's very different to, watching the entire film or watching the part that came before until we reach that. So that's important as well. And you're always trying to balance that tone, from writing to, while you're filming, you have a certain idea and then you see it in the edit room and it's kind of different to what you experience on set. I don't know if that happens to you as well, but, I don't really notice all the details and the nuance of the actors while I'm on set. Like, because, I'm so stressed and there's so many things going on and so many things to control and so little time that sometimes I miss stuff, like the tiny little things that could make a big difference when then you blow up someone's face, on a big screen and he does this little pause and pulls himself back and, asks a question like 2 seconds late. You don't necessarily get that while you're filming it. And then you discover it in the edit and you go like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even remember that he did that. And so it's,
Will you watch every take in the edit?
Not anymore, actually. I mean, I'm very, very lucky to have found an editor who has edited all of my films, Yorgos Lanthimos. We call him Blackfish. It's the translation of his name in English, his surname. So he's edited all of my films from Kinnet all the way to here. So we've developed this, relationship which is, very trusting. And also, I think there was like a learning curve where he understood what I'm drawn to and what kind of performances or things I'm drawn to. So I let him do the thing. And, I watch, like in the beginning, he was doing the whole film as an assembly, like a rough assembly. And that was devastating. Like every time I went and watched the 4-hour assembly, I wanted to kill myself. I didn't want to make another film anymore. Like it was the last one. Let's try and save this one. And I'm going to go whatever, keep going doing commercials. And then like, I don't know, like 5 films in, I went to the editing room of my friends, Joss and Benny Safdie, and they were editing Uncut Gems. And they were like, they're the total opposite that I am. And they were like, we made this amazing film. We're doing this amazing. Come, we're gonna watch you like in the edit. And I go like, in the edit, you wanna watch me? You're so confident. And go like, come into the editing room. We'll show you, And I go like, and they, press play, and it's the beginning of the film, and then, it plays for 10 minutes. It's really good. And they stop it, and I go like, that's amazing. Like, how long have you been working on that? They say like, oh, for a few months. And have you done the whole film? And he goes like, no, that's all we have. Like, we do, like we edit one scene at a time. We do the best version of the scene that we can do, and then we move on, and then we move on. And then, of course, when you do the whole thing, you do another pass, because things change according to when you see the whole thing. And I was like, that's fucking amazing. I should do that because, I won't get depressed seeing like a really flabby, assemble of stuff, And we'll concentrate on each scene, and then, it's going to be, when the first time I see the whole film, it's going to be better. It's going to feel better. And it did feel a little better, but it's not. It's not miles away. Like the first feeling of seeing the entire thing. It's better though. So yeah, to your question. So there was a learning curve with Blackfish that he understood, a lot about both actors and in terms of like, editing what I like or as the films changed, how they were different. And he's very meticulous. Like he's a workaholic. Like he works all day. He only makes, a break for an hour walk, and then he goes back home and he works until midnight, and then he has to work on the weekends. And well, he's like, he's not well.
But it's a great tip. I imagine there's a number of practitioners, filmmakers, and editors and directors in that, and I think it's pretty universal, the feeling of wanting to kill yourself after the first assembly. So that's a nice alternative way to do it.
Not the softies. They love it.
But hit that first scene, make it great, move on to the next one.
Exactly. No, it's a great system. I don't know. I didn't think of it. I mean, I guess I never saw anyone editing a film before I made my films.
No. I want to press on, but I want to also ask about this thing, which is you create these very complete. There are similarities. I think people could see certain similarities across your films, but they're also very different tonal worlds that we get in them. Is there any way of describing what that? Do you get a feeling of what Poor Things is going to feel like in its tonal entirety versus The Lobster? Is it a physical feeling, an intellectual feeling, or a bunch of collaborations that are yet to come? Does it click for you at some point? I know what this one is going to be.
No, until, I mean, I have an idea.
Yeah.
And I have certain intentions gradually, and then, it changes in every part of the process. So, and I also do like one thing at a time. I can't multitask in terms of we're writing the script and I'm thinking of the actors and how it's going to look and we're going to film it this way. I need to concentrate just on the script and feel confident that works, in its own right, that I read it and I feel confident and I want to go out and make it. And that's why sometimes it takes a long time to get, a script. And then I think, okay, so this thing that we've, written, how could it look? What would be the approach? How can it be different to what we've done before? So just for the heck of it, like to not get too bored with doing the same thing over and over again. Who's going to be in it? Then what it's going to look like? So I started having an idea because I think working on a script for so long is beneficial because it provides a lot of information to the other people that are coming in.
Yeah.
So it's like it has a really specific tone. And people kind of mostly get it. And then I welcome, especially after, quite a few years doing it. I think in the beginning I was more guarded and wanted to have more control over things, and I thought that I knew everything. And so I didn't allow as much flexibility to people, but doing it and meeting people and creating these relationships and building on them, I was able to just assign a lot of the stuff on them and trust them with it and be pleasantly surprised with what they bring instead of me having, to control everything and knowing what exactly it's going to be. And most of the times it's richer because you have, these talented people around you and, they bring something in that you never even, thought of. So why avoid that? And you need to have a certain kind of confidence to say, yeah, this I think it will work, and this I don't think, it works with what we're trying to do, but it's kind of silly to not invite all these smart and talented people, to contribute. So How did we start this?
We start.
Oh, if I know what it's going to be.
That,
Yeah.
is it like a gut feeling?
Yeah.
And it seems like
It's being built, I think. I think I do have a sense, like I have a direction, but it changes. Like
Yeah.
it's this, blob of amorphous thing. Like it has a color, but then the shape changes, and then it becomes something, which I kind of know, on the way. But again, until you finish it, like until you say, okay, this is the edit, this is the sound, like you don't really know exactly.
No.
But you have an idea, and as I said, like I welcome the change and what happens, and what people bring, and I love being pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Instead of the opposite.
Should we have a look at the next clip, please? Sure.
More popular film with the audience.
Yeah, I mean, I was fascinated by what you were just saying. I've collaborated with you a little bit, and I know some of your collaborators, actors, screenwriters, and it seems to me that you operate by having very firm sense of what you want that's communicated pretty directly, and also with occasionally with some references from other artwork. And then you tend to let your collaborators have a relatively free hand, screenwriters and actors, who are the ones I'm most familiar with. Does that sound familiar to you? Is that true?
Yeah, rings a bell. Yeah, And for example, this scene, it's funny because there's a written part, and then the ending. Like I thought of it on the spot. Like there was this. You look like a badger. You can't. And I saw this kid there who looked so fragile. And I went to Olivia and go like, why don't you just go,
Really?
and just, pester him and go like, did you look at me? Da, da, da. And then, he won, and then you ask him to look at you, and then you go like, how dare you, like, And, we just did that on the spot, and, it's just, but sometimes these things work and sometimes they don't. But I think they, even if they don't work and they don't make it into the film, I feel they inform the process and the actors, and they inspire some freedom to do different things, not to feel that they need to like stay on this path and that's the only right way to do things. And yeah, so, that's an example of that. But at the same time, I'm very particular about, how we film things and, framing and the image and all these things. I'm particular about, the performances in terms of knowing what doesn't work, but not being able to tell these incredible actors how to do it. I just can help to the point of saying, this doesn't feel right. Actually, I do something that annoys Emma very much. Like, I only mimic the bad takes. I go to her and mimic the bad, and I go like, you said it like this. Don't do it like that. That's my, and she says, okay, you don't have to do the impression. I go like, I get it. I go like, yeah, but it helps, I think, because, so that annoys her very much. That's one of her favorite things that annoy her. So I can do that. I can make fun of them, and then they understand that's not good, and they try something different, and then we figure it out,
But I am interested in this thing of like the autocrat who's sometimes seen, sometimes a god, literally, called God, sometimes a godlike figure like the father who controls these spaces in many of your films, which is also what the director does, right?
Yeah.
And that tension between, for a creative person, the director on a film controlling the endeavor, too much control, you kill your collaborators, too little, and there's no thing. Do you think about that much, or is it a pass? Because I've got lots of good pass questions.
No. I love them all. No, it's Well, I think it's a progression, as I said before. In the beginning, I felt, I thought of it more like that. Maybe it's because also I started from commercials, that because it was a positive thing in one side, as we discussed it on, as we discussed, it had some benefits, but maybe that lack of control and not being able to do the things, how I wanted and make them, how I thought it was best, led me to being over controlling in the first.
Where can you put a film on it when it was gradual as you started
It
to
was
trust?
gradual, yeah. Like I can only realize by looking back, and
Sure.
realize how much I trust people now and how much I like, accepting the contributions. As I said before, I didn't, one day go like I should do it like this, like with editing. It was gradual, and it was like that, just trusting people, and also realizing, which, growing up in Greece, like in the 80s, like I did in 90s, becoming a film director, like making films as like a real thing for a living, was a joke. Like there were like three of them, and that was it. And there was no, there still is not a great educational option. I mean, there is, in the university school now, which is better than what I had before. We had like a little, private school. So I think also by realizing at some point that I could actually do this, for real, and not do it on the side like I did it in Greece by, making commercials and then taking a break and, putting all the money in the films and asking my friends to come and make a film. So it was like a hobby, and then, when I came here, I mean, it's complicated. When I actually came here, it wasn't that great, as I thought, as they led me to believe.
With the Lobster?
Yes, that took like 5 years to get made, and it was like a European co-production with 32 countries giving us like 5,000 from each country, and I was like, anyway. But even then, at least, I spent all the money that I made from commercials living here for 5 years, not making anything. And thankfully, finally the Lobster happened. So that gave me a confidence, like it was my thing. So I guess, I felt less threatened, that it was a reality, that I could actually do that. That it could be how I live. That would be my thing.
Yeah.
I could do that. I could survive just by making films. And I think, confidence is a good thing, to be more generous and, accept those things. So I think that helped, that it became a reality, that I, something that was totally crazy thinking about it when I was younger could be a reality for like a Greek kid. Like it's yeah.
Do you miss any of the? Do you ever think? Do you miss the low budget friends and neighbours approach ever?
In some ways, yes. I mean, I was totally shocked the first time I think some of my producers are here. Yeah, there is Ed. And, totally shocked. I was like, I'm gonna go to England. I'm gonna make films. It's gonna be amazing. We're gonna have money. People are gonna be great. And then I go on set the first day, and we're doing this scene, and I'm doing a take, and the AD comes next to me and goes like, I go like, what? He goes like, you have 2 minutes to finish this thing. I go like, what? You have 2 minutes. I have to move on. I go like, I need 4 minutes. Is that okay? He goes like, no, it's not okay. I have to go to the producers. And I go like, and I was like shocked. I mean, like, there was a total opposite kind of mindset of like, okay, I'll take 4 minutes here. We'll, get them back from the next scene. Don't worry about it. But it was really strange for me to see people, and it varies, of course. And then you get to meet people and that they're like-minded, and it happens anywhere in the world. And of course, it's different to be making films with your friends rather than, you know, professionals that don't give a fuck who you are and what you've done before. And but then, you know, you can find people anywhere that are more like-minded. So, but that was shocking for me that people that worked on film thought of it that way, that they had this kind of mindset. While coming from somewhere where people like they were lending me their clothes, their cars, their houses, you know, just to be part of this, you know, filmmaking experience. And someone going like, "You have 2 minutes," you know, otherwise we're like, it just really shocked me. And so I kind of missed that, but not really, because then, and I've been talking about that, you know, a lot, like, you know, I've worked with Ed and Andrew Element since The Lobster. We've made all the English language film together, and there's always the discussion after we make, you know, a film. There's always a discussion: what can we do better? What kind of people can we include? So, you know, we structure this thing more as we want it to be, and it's difficult because, you know, it's an industry. There's a lot of people involved. Not all of them care about the actual result of the film. Some of them are like just technicians, want to earn a living, and you can't control that. So it's a struggle to figure it out. But then, you know, when times of desperation, and then I go to people and go like, I don't want to make another film anymore. I mean, this is just not, you know. And they go like, oh, maybe you should go and, you know, make a film like with a lesser budget, and I go like, yeah, but then we'll be again in the same situation where like we didn't have anything, and then we're stressed about that, and we couldn't control anything, and, you know, nobody watched the film, you know, most of them, because there's no big, you know, distributor behind it to like put some money in it, if they think it's going to make money. Otherwise they dump it.
Is this a good moment to
ask about money?
To ask specifically? Yeah, I've got it. Ed Gurney, your producer, who you mentioned, asked you, how do you feel about commercial success, whether a film lands with the audience? Do you want to do it privately? You think about it, right? You want the
I think
audience
about it. Like I want it to happen, but I don't want it to happen the way it happens. I don't like, I want people to make their money back, you know? And I want people to watch the film, but I don't want to be, you know, going around like a, you know, like a freak parading around the world, you know, just having to, you know, explain, you know, the film and what it is, you know.
That part of the promotion,
But I
guess,
love
is
this
different.
part, for example, and I love that you're doing it.
And that these people are.
And then there's these people here.
But I guess that's one part of it, which we know you have mixed feelings about. But what about how developed is the part of your brain which is thinking, as you look at a script or consider a potential project,
I mean,
people will like.
I do have an idea, but like I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, again, it sounds weird. Like I just want to make the films that I want to make. I don't think let's make this one because it's going to be successful and it's going to, you know. I just work on ideas and scripts that that attract me. And when I feel, as I said before, like confident about a script, I go like, let's go and make this. And then, of course, you know, in any case, the world and the system tells you, you know, you have to do this with, 10 million, otherwise you're not doing it. And you go like, okay, let's, try and make this with 10 million. And then you have this other one where they go like, oh, we can give you 40 million for this one. So you understand that they already have some kind of expectation and idea. And yeah, I mean, it's a complicated thing, because that's one of the reasons that, I have mixed feelings about, having made all these films, figuring out what the best way to do it is because it's so complicated. There's all these things involved. Like they spend a lot of money, so they do have to make it back. And how can it work for you to be, authentic and do the things that you want and not be, damaged by, speaking too much about it? Because I don't think it's not my primarily, passion to go around being photographed and, tell people stuff. And again, it's not about you. This is cool. I get to complain, actually. It's hard. Yeah. And it's almost the same amount of time as, making a film. So you spend 6 months or whatever, 4 months filming, and then 6 months editing, and then you have to 6 months going around promoting the film. And I'm just going isn't there another, do we have to, is it really? And then, you sit down with your people and go this interview and this interview, can you just take out some of them? Do I have to do all of them say the same things 1,000 times? In the middle of the day, I don't remember, the things that I've said. I'm looking at people and go, did I tell you this or was it the previous person? It's I'm sorry, I'm confused. I'm, it's, and it's a big part of it. And it's does it have to be? I understand, and especially now with technology, you capture something, everyone has it, Why do I have to do it a million times? It's multiplied anyway. I don't understand. But apparently it's still the system that we have to follow. Nothing's changed. I mean, I don't know. AI is I'll make an avatar and I'll send it out there.
First, you want a dictatorship, and now you want to send out an AI version of yourself to talk about your films.
It sounds really, really opposite to my beliefs, but yeah, I guess we uncovered something here.
Should we move on, if we can, to the clip of Bugonia?
Communist dictatorship.
Important clarification. They've been much more successful. How many? It's been on at the film festival. Obviously, it's not on general release in the UK. How many folk in the audience have seen the film? Oh wow!
Yeah.
Bloody hell! Well done.
I guess you were bored watching this scene.
So we won't spoil the ending, but we all know what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And yeah, tell us. Will Tracy wrote the script. A friend and colleague of mine from Succession. And how did you? What can you tell us how you?
By the way, he hates this line.
Which one?
This is in Death of a Salesman. Where is he? But see, people laughed. Which he also hates. People are supposed to laugh in specific places. How was that?
You've done a lot of movies. It seems to us, it doesn't always equate to a seamless production process, but they've come out. You've had films in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it has been a lot back to back. Yeah, so this was a gift basically, because I received the screenplay from Ari Aster and Lars Knudsen that were, developed it with Will, and I got a complete script, which for the first time, I read a script that I was immediately interested in, in making, that I hadn't developed for years and tried to figure out and all that. So it was, like a gift. I think Ari has regretted giving it to me. I had an immediate reaction. I was extremely excited when I read it. It was really easy to read, really quick. And then I immediately emailed it to Emma, and she felt the same. And I said, you want to do this? And, she said, yeah, it's amazing. And then, we had worked with Jesse before on Kinds of Kindness as well. So to me, it felt again like a, straightforward thing to go to him. And then for the part of Dawn, that was like a bigger journey, quite different. But So I worked with Will, on the script just for a little bit, there were things, that I felt that needed to be adapted more to my sensibility and how I do things and how I view things and the vision that I had for the film. But it was, relatively quick. We did, a few sessions of, changing those things. It happened over time because we were both, doing other things. But, the amount of stuff that we changed is not that much. And then some things changed again, as we said before, in the process, like with, for example, Dawn, who's, not Aiden, played by Aiden. There'll be. He's not a professional actor, and we did street casting with Jennifer Venditti, who's specializes in finding people. And early on, I had this inclination that just from the script as well. It wasn't written as that, but like it felt that it was right that he would be like neurodivergent, and Aiden is autistic. That's how he prefers to be referred at, if we have to say it. So he just brought in a very different sensibility and created a dynamic that you can't necessarily describe on the page. And then we went with Will and just adjusted the dialogue a little bit so that it suited someone like him, and how he how he speaks and how he behaves and his presence. And he was like a really valuable, another gift. Like how good Emma and Jesse is, and they still surprise you, on set and then in the editing. But then the thing with Aiden is like totally unpredictable, and that's why it's interesting. You don't know what's gonna happen, and he's so honest and no filter, and it was so like everybody was walking on eggshells where Aiden was in, because you didn't know what was going to happen. And I'd love if I was more like him. He's like no filter at all. Like he asks you a question, and if you take too long to answer, he's like, okay, bye. Like doesn't care. It's great. Like he's great. And so that affected certain things. And yeah. What did you ask? It's like my mind.
I asked how you got into it.
Okay,
But,
yeah, it was a great script.
And Will Tracy gave us a couple of questions. There's a lot here about Bertolt Brecht and Buñuel, but this one caught my eye, which is your ideal on-set lunch menu
on the
from
first
catering?
Questions.
Which is your ideal on-set menu from catering?
Just some quality food. Like it's really shitty most of the times.
Really?
Yeah. No. You have good catering?
Maybe I'm interested in quantity. I think it's not bad.
No, whatever it is, I just want it to be good. I like nice food.
The big ones for me as a comedy writer, reliable places to go back to: death, sex, food. I think you do death and sex, I'd say, fairly, fully. Not as much food as I would have expected in your movies.
Yeah.
You do dancing, I think, instead of food.
Yeah. I've replaced it. It burns more calories.
Listen, we should get some questions from the audience.
I don't think, I'd change that much in terms of the content, because, it is a world that represents the world. So I think deliberately, because there was technology back then, and, this thing kind of existed, but this was like a materialization in physical form of that type of a world that was, I guess, starting at that point. And I always prefer the physical aspect of it. And I think, again, if we were to think of something like that with Efthimis, which was like, when you're single, how people treat you and all that, and, what happens. And I think would still, maybe there would be some more technology, but But it wouldn't be the core of it. I think the core of it again would be, people and this kind of construct of this society, and I think the core of it would still be the same, and I would have 4 more minutes to do the scene.
Maybe you get 30 days, not 45 days.
Yeah.
A little quicker.
Yeah.
This is a good question. I kind of wanted to ask him that, but I thought he would give me a very sort of.
That was going to be the past, a Greek weird wave. Jesus.
If you want to pass on that, I could give you.
No, I want to be.
You want to
polite.
hit it? Go ahead.
Yeah, come on. The Greek weird wave. I mean, you didn't ask that. You just assumed it was like a real thing. But I'm going to answer to that. That's one of the annoying things to me, because it feels like so, in a sense, like lazy, because they just they're like 1 or 2 films that from Greece, which came out of this kind of mentality. Oh, we're making films on our own. Why don't we just make them with our own money? Da da da. And it was like 2 films or something that went to a festival, and then you got, as you said, like known or whatever. And then, any Greek film that was being made, it was like, oh, it's the Greek weird wave. And there wasn't any kind of connection, in terms of aesthetics and thematically. And so.
But if we could put aside your beef about the weird wave, which
Yes.
none of us should mention, evidently, ever again, what about the other bit, which could be a. Well, is it interesting to you that, I mean, you presumably were thinking about Dogtooth before the financial crisis of 2008 and what happened in Greece afterwards, but there is a reading of your work with like, the world's gone crazy, like here are some, and look at these other ways in which human beings construct mad systems. Is it a valid way to think about your stuff?
Yeah, but it wasn't so much related to the Greek financial crisis, or I guess it was global.
Yeah.
Afterwards. Yeah, I don't think it's so direct and literal, but like, of course, I think about it in general terms. But yeah, I wouldn't be so specific.
Sure. Good.
Not a very good answer. 2.5 stars.
2.
I mean, help me, Will, but I think that was part of the original film as well, and it made sense, and we kept it. He's nodding, so he agrees. But I think I don't remember how the original film ends. I only saw it once after reading the script, but I think after revealing that, I think it was very important for us to show the world, that sequence of the world, and also try and do it not in a cliche way where you just see monuments and stuff all around the world, but go more into smaller and more personal stuff and more intimate things, and create an ending that's where the ambiguity is, like, because it's interesting. One of the interesting things that going around and doing a lot of interviews is that you see people like perceive the ending. Some of them are like they see it as totally bleak and desperate, and others see it as hopeful. And I think that's interesting, and that's where we try to maintain some kind of ambiguity, because it tells a lot about you, like how you experience this and how you see the world. And I love that to happen, like as we were discussing before, to allow the room to go this way or the other way, depending on what your mindset is or what your mood is, or anything like that. But yeah, I think that thing, the ending it was part of the narrative structure, which I think worked well. in order to challenge, all the things that we believe throughout the film and change our minds about, and it doesn't give a definitive answer, I think, because of the end. Yeah, I don't know if
Good.
that's what you asked. But.
And I think, I'm afraid, on an ending and it being left open to you is where we have to end.
And
our time has run out, but Yorgos, brilliant answers. You gave a good impression of someone who was here.
Overall, 3.5 stars.
Thank you.
Thank you.